should be first things first. I'll take your mind back to what happened in Zaria 4 years or so ago, when Nigerian citizens were killed and buried and in shallow graves and hidden, and that was it. Nothing happened to anybody. They are a religious minority. Whatever their religious inclinations are, or whatever it is they believe, they are Nigerians. Nobody faced any consequences for that. If the senator is honest about protecting, if it is about protecting minority rights of minorities, of religious minorities, then can we address that? Can we find people find consequences for that which they did? He doesn't have any track record, I know, of him addressing the rights of people who are minorities and all of those. That's not what the law is even talking about. It's targeting. That's not even what it's targeting. And you're talking about ethnic. I'm not saying his advocacy on such things, on such matters, for me to know, or for anybody to convince anybody that he felt strongly about this, and so this is actually what he's doing. That's not what the law is about. That law is targeting a different thing altogether. And then it's also talking about establishing yet another commission. Did he say where we're going to be getting funds to fund the commission? Because right now we're borrowing to run the system. Are we going to be borrowing more money to fund his commission he's talking about? So the law is just a very bad idea. It's just a very bad idea, and that's not what we should be focusing on at this time at all.
So what sort of legislations would you want to see on the 9th Assembly going into 2020 and even in the next 3 years?
First and foremost, this National Assembly stop being a rubber stamp. First and foremost, that's where it starts. It starts there before the legislations. The legislations they should come up with. Right now, they're just an extension of Aso Rock, which is a complete no-no. They should stand as an autonomous and independent arm of government to overlook what the executive is doing. Right now, they're not doing that. Second, they have to rearrange their priorities. The National Assembly is inbred. It's designed to take care of itself. That's why we are a country, the largest number of poor people, the largest percentage of poor people, and yet we have a National Assembly that's the highest paid in the world. How do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile that a poor country like Nigeria, has legislators that are more highly paid than the richest country in the world? How does that add up? How does it add up that the first order of business was to allot 5.5 billion naira to buy vehicles for themselves? They're not talking about public transportation. They're not thinking about how we move. So they're simply there to take care of yourself. The system is inbred. Right now, they're talking about another 37 billion naira to renovate their own complex. It's not as if the roofs are falling. It's not as if they don't have chairs to sit on. It's not as if that's not even the issue. That same National Assembly was renovated in 2013. 40 billion naira was released to build 2 extra wings and to renovate it. That was just 2013. So you're telling me that in 6 years, we need to renovate again for 37 billion naira? How does that add up? And then they also have very wrong practices they've been carrying out that nobody knows where they learned it from. There's another fraud they call the zonal intervention projects. Every year, 100 billion naira is allotted for those zonal intervention projects. So they now split it, everybody gets 200 million naira to nominate projects to be done. So somebody says we're going to do cultural orientation for junior secondary school students in my constituency, and then they allot 50 million naira. Another 50 million naira for cultural orientation for senior secondary school. What does cultural orientation mean? So that's how the 100 billion naira is split. Everybody gets 200 million naira. That's how it's shared. That's why the president said the other day that for the past 10 years they've collected 1 trillion naira in zonal intervention funds with nothing to show for it. The thing, however, is the same president has given the 100 billion naira for the 5th time this year. So what's the point? They now do frivolous projects like giving people grinding machines, doing that. What does that add up to? They need to refocus their minds and think critically on, stop thinking about themselves, but think about Nigeria. And think about Nigerians, and think about improving our lives and improving the system as it is. Right now, anything the executive says goes.
There's some specific legislations. What would you say?
So there's so many areas. I, in particular, am passionate I'm passionate about. There's so many areas I'm passionate about, and we have so many laws in the first place that are not properly done. Let me give you one example. There's the UBE Act of 2004. The Constitution, for instance, says that primary education or basic education is the fault of the local government. The law goes ahead to say that, in fact, gives specific responsibilities to the local government. It says every child is entitled to compulsory free universal basic education. And it is stakeholders at the local government who are to enforce the law. They say any parent or guardian who doesn't have their child in school is liable and has committed an offense already. It's the local government who should do this. It now goes ahead and says anybody who implements a universal basic education qualifies for a federal grant. The states do not access the funds. The local governments that are eligible cannot access the funds either, because they can't access directly. The law doesn't allow them to access directly except the states. And so you now have UBEC every year telling us that they have so and so and so tens of billions of naira, nobody's claiming. So we have 13.2 million children out of school. And then we have funds to be accessed and nobody's accessing them because the states won't access them. The local governments that should access them cannot access them because the law does not include them to access it. That's an amendment that can be made for local governments to be able, that are eligible, because they're eligible, you can directly contribute your quota and get the money and run your system.